So what tools do you think about when you think of a wood shop? Of course you think about saws, you think about drills and impacts, you think about, well, the all-important sander, but there's one tool that we never really give enough love to, and that is the jointer. This tool here, my friend, is an absolute must to take your woodworking game from amateur to professional. Not only will I explain to you why you need a jointer in this video, but I'm going to show you how to use this jointer, and then I'm going to do a full review on this Wen 6-inch jointer. So make sure you get subscribed, and I'll be back right after the intro. So there's a ton of different jointers out there on the market. You got Grizzly, you got Rigid, and you got this Wen. Now, I really wanted the Rigid. It was a little bit bigger. It was a 6.5-inch jointer, and it actually had its own stand. But to be honest with you, I'm sort of running out of room, so I decided to go with something a little bit smaller, and the one that I chose was the Wen. Now, this ran me about $300. I paid for it at the Home Depot. I'll put a link in the description for you to check it out. But I did a lot of looking around, and this is the one I thought would fit my needs the best. I don't woodwork professionally. I do it as a hobby, and I make things and sell them every once in a while, so I don't need a $2,000 or $3,000 jointer. But that said, I absolutely did need a jointer. Why did I need a jointer though? Because I was struggling with my woodworking. I was having issues making everything line up. It was just driving me crazy. And here is what you usually have. Take this 2x6 for example. You got a cup on there, there's twisting on there, some warpage. It's just a nightmare to try to get things looking professional. So what we want to do is take that out. See how that's rocking back and forth? We want a perfectly milled piece of lumber to make everything easier. Think about making a table. If you were trying to make a tabletop, how are you going to get everything to line up and look nice if it rocks and it's cupped and it has those defects? So this is where the joiner comes in. Let's go over it a little bit. You got a guard right here. This is going to protect your fingers. You have one blade inside, which is extremely sharp. You have to be careful with this tool. You have an adjustment knob down here on the bottom right underneath your infeed table. Don't worry, I'll explain everything to you and how it works, but I'm just trying to give you an insight of what this thing offers. So you can see the infeed table, it's raising and lowering simply by adjusting that knob. Now the reason for this is because you want that piece of wood to go through your infeed table over top of that knife and then over your outfeed, and what that is going to do is completely level everything out. The lower your infeed table is, the more you are going to take off in one pass. Now, I usually do not take off more than a 1/16 of an inch. I'll also show you how to do that, but that is why those infeed tables move up and down. Now, you do not want to put too much pressure down on that piece of wood when you're doing this. I'll explain to you why here in a bit, but there is a science to using these. Now, on the back here, you do have some adjustments. Now you got the fence over here, you can slide that forward, you can slide that backwards, and you can also adjust it into a 45-degree angle. Now why do I want to bring my fence up closer? Well, my board here is a 2x4. I got a lot of blade left, and that leaves a lot of room for me making a mistake and running my finger into that blade. So I want to make sure that I'm working as safe as possible, and now I can bring that fence in, lock it down, and don't have to worry about having that much blade exposed. Now, as for being able to adjust that fence to a 45-degree angle, well, it's pretty simple. Chamfering, my friend. You see, this fence allows you to adjust it up to a 45-degree angle. And what's nice about this is if you wanted to, well, chamfer your edges on a piece of wood, you can do that using this. And if you didn't want a 45-degree, well, you can adjust it to where you want it to be. Just adjust it using the etched in markings on the back of the machine here, and then run your board across the fence. What that does is gives you a perfect chamfer on the end of your board. You can also do a lot of other things with a jointer, which we'll talk about in a later video. But let's get back to the Wen. So as far as adjustments go, very easy to make on this tool. And on the back here, you can see that you have a couple different adjusters right here, and it allows you to lock everything into place. They are also spring loaded, so all you have to do when you get into a tight area is lift up, rotate it, and then crank down again. That allows you to continue tightening if that fence or anything else gets in your way. Now as for the clamps, they are not the most heavy duty that I've ever used, but they will do the job. You do have to make sure that you tighten them down pretty tight or you will get some play in that fence. So you definitely have to make sure that you crank down a little bit on those. Now if you are planning on using a jointer, your best friend will be the combination square. I don't care what jointer you are using, at what price range, you want to make sure that everything is level. You need those adjustments to be true or your piece of wood is going to come out like crap. Once you get everything leveled up, which is extremely easy to do, you just tighten it down and make sure that they aren't going anywhere, and now you are ready to run your piece of wood. So right here we have our twisted cupped 2x6, and we're going to straighten this thing out so we can actually use it for something. Now remember the knob I was showing you earlier? Well, if I turn it to the left, what that's going to do is adjust my infeed table. That is how I'm going to set my depth. All you have to do is look at your gauge right here, and we are going to take off 1/16 of an inch. I'm not going to take off 1/8 of an inch because, well, it's just too much in my opinion. But you could if you wanted to. So I'll crank that knob back down to the right and bring it down to the 1/16 of an inch. Now we are ready. So here's the guard. I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to let you hear it. This machine here is not the most quiet, so you want hearing protection and safety glasses at all times. So you do have a 10 amp motor on this, and you can get 20,000 cuts per minute, so it's pretty impressive. But what I thought was really cool, before we start cutting, let me show you this. You get a bag, a dust collector bag, right? And you get a big spring, and I was like, what is this big spring for? And check this out, the spring goes up in through the bag and then onto your extractor, and the bag just kind of hangs there, and it doesn't come off. Does an excellent job keeping those wood shavings in the bag, not on the floor, in the bag. I really think it's cool, and it works really, really well. So all of this stuff comes in the box. You also get the push block, and you get a push stick. Now, I wish there was 2 push blocks. I'm actually making one right now on the 3D printer, because how you should be using this is, listen, you don't want to push down too hard. You just need this thing to rest on that blade. But 2 push blocks are really, really nice. It helps you keep it secure and push at the same time. It's sort of like a one hand over the other, where with only 1 push block, and my local Home Depot doesn't carry any, so I'm making one myself. But it doesn't allow you to do that with 1. You have to have 2. So what I'm going to do is use the 1 push block, and then I'm going to use the push stick in the back. And because I'm not putting that much pressure down on the wood, well, it should be fine. So let's go ahead and do the face of the board first. So again, what I should be doing is putting 1 block on the front of that to hold it down, and then another, and then hand over hand, and then push through, but I gotta do what I gotta do. So we still have a little bit of cup in this, and what we're going to do is run it through 1 more time to take that cup out. Again, do not put too much pressure down on your wood, because what it does is it makes that board go down, and then it will just spring back up, and you're still gonna have that cup. So you just want it to ride over very, very lightly. And that's real nice like. Nice and smooth, no more cup, no more twist. What we're going to do is we're going to take it back over to our workbench, and we are going to see if we can get this thing to rock or if it's going to lay flat down. Again, I know, I wish I had 2 push sticks, but I didn't. But check it out, no twist, no rocking, completely flat. Now we still have to do our edge, so that way we can run it through the table saw, but now you can put this into your planer And now it has that perfect level surface, and you don't have to worry about any more bending or cupping. I mean, check it out. Look how smooth that is. I mean, you know, I kind of like this. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe. Sorry, I got a little carried away there with my jam. But what we're going to do is now take the smooth side and we're going to put it up against our fence. And then we are going to joint the edge of this 2x6. And what that'll allow us to do is put it on a table saw, run it through our planer, whatever we need to do. But we will be true and square. We'll also take 2 passes off of this, 1/16 of an inch on each pass. Now I'll show you the second pass. We already took 1 pass, but what you can do here is take some pencil and run it down the side of that edge before you actually do this, and that will show you where your high and low spots still are. How about that? So now what we're going to do is we're going to take it over to the D-wall planer, which we have a full review on as well. And now it will give us a true and tried parallel surface. Make sure that the part that you just jointed is flat down, and then the cutting knives are up on top of the planer. And there you go, you have a perfectly milled piece of lumber that you can work and do whatever you need to do with now that it is flat and everything is parallel. And again, the reason why you need the jointer, because the planer is not going to take out cup, it's not going to take out any twist or bowing. It won't do it because those rollers up on top of that planer push down, and once that board comes out, it just springs back up again. That's another reason why you don't want to push down too hard on the jointer, because it will do the exact same thing. Your hands will act as those rollers do in the planer. So you just want to add a little bit of force to press down on the face and then run it through. Now you can also put a little bit of turtle wax on the pieces of the inboard and the outboard. That way you can slide that thing through and you don't have to worry about it getting stuck. Now let's talk about the review of the Wen jointer. Again, I looked at a lot of different jointers. There are some that are really big, there are some that are smaller like this, the bench top. There are some that cost thousands of dollars, and then there are some that cost $300 like this. Now, this is the one that I picked because, number one, it seemed to have enough power. The build quality is pretty good, but it's not a professional grade jointer. If you were a hobbyist, if you were somebody out there that is just trying to get into woodworking, this is a perfect jointer. The in-feed and out-feed table, they're short. If you're trying to run really, really long boards, you're going to have to find some other type of support, like a rigid stand or something that we put in another one of our videos to help catch that wood like you would on a table saw. So that's not going to offer you a long table. You also cannot adjust the outfeed table like you can on a lot of the other expensive models, which you can also do some pretty cool things with when you can adjust those outfeeds. As far as the adjustments go, they're very easy to make. I was actually quite surprised how well they actually square up. Once you crank them down, you don't have to worry about them going anywhere. And the metal tables, that is also a big plus. As far as it goes with the safety guard, it goes in, it closes like it's supposed to. That spring action didn't have any issues with it sticking or holding up. You do get the one pad. You're going to have to get another if you use a jointer because, well, you're going to end up running into issues like I did. I should have been smart enough and went and bought a second pad. But again, I'm making one, so not a big deal. As for the plastic body, it's actually pretty heavy duty plastic. It's not that thin, crappy stuff. It's pretty well built. So I'm happy with the quality as far as it goes with the price. The motor was actually kind of surprising as well. I did not think that it was going to have as much power as it did, only being a 10 amp compared to like a 15 amp that I'm used to with other tools. Now during the video I was pushing that through a little bit slower, but you can definitely go faster if you wanted to. I was just doing it for the video's sake. So my thoughts, I think it's well built. I think it's very easy to use. Assembly was not hard at all. They give you the instructions. Took me about 15 minutes to get everything together. And again, if you're trying to up your woodworking game, this is a must-have tool simply because you don't have to worry about things not fitting correctly towards the end of your project or during your project. This thing makes everything square and true and makes everything so much more enjoyable while you were working on it because of the quality that you get from that lumber after you are done milling it or jointing it. And there are some projects out there, such as if you're building a tabletop, you just can't get those faces to line up smooth and flush. With this, you can. So it's a definite must-have if you were trying to make your woodworking go to that next level. So I want to know what you think. What do you think of the jointer as a tool in a whole? Do you like them? Do you use them? Are you planning on getting one? What do you think? Leave me a comment in the comment section below. If you like this video, don't forget to smash that like button and hit the subscribe button with the bell notification so you don't miss out on any other tool reviews. Also, come say hi to us on the Instagram page at Tool Review Zone. Would really like to see you over there. With that, we'll be back with more videos soon.